It happens so quietly that most people barely treat it as communication. You're sitting on the couch or at your desk or half lost in thought, and your dog comes over, lifts one paw, and rests it on your arm or your leg as if they've made a decision. Not a scratch, not a jump, not that impatient swat they use when they want something right now. This is slower than that, softer, almost deliberate in a way that feels hard to explain. And that is exactly why people misunderstand it. Because the gesture looks small, but the timing is rarely small. It often happens when you go still, when your attention drifts, when your mood changes, or right before you move away. Which raises a bigger question most owners never stop to ask. Why this gesture? And why that exact moment? The answer is more layered than people think, because a dog's paw is not always a request. Sometimes it is a check-in. Sometimes it is hesitation. Sometimes it is comfort. And sometimes it is something even deeper than affection, because what makes this behavior meaningful is not the paw itself, but the emotional reading that comes before it. Your dog notices a shift, reads the moment, and then responds with touch. Once you see that pattern, the gesture stops looking cute and starts looking precise. Most people assume a paw means pet me, and sometimes that is true. But there are moments when your dog places a paw on you and does absolutely nothing else. They do not wag harder, they do not climb closer, they do not escalate. They simply keep that point of contact there, almost as if touching you is the entire point. That changes the meaning. Because when an animal wants stimulation, they usually increase intensity until they get it. But when a dog seems satisfied just by keeping one paw on you, what they may be seeking is not excitement, but connection. It is a way of making the distance between you disappear without needing movement, noise, or demand. In other words, the gesture is not built to pull your attention toward them. It is built to close the circuit between the two of you. One reason this gesture feels so emotional is that it often arrives before the human fully understands their own state. You may not be crying, you may not even look upset, but your breathing slows, your posture changes, your face goes distant, and your dog notices the shift long before you turn it into words. That is where the paw can become surprisingly powerful. Dogs are experts in pattern recognition, especially when it comes to the people they live beside every day. They learn your normal rhythm, and because they know your baseline so well, they detect the moments when something drops, tightens, or pulls inward. And rather than reacting with chaos, some dogs answer that change with a very controlled kind of touch. It is their version of saying, "Something is different. I'm here with you." There is another version of this behavior that feels completely different. It happens when your dog wants something, but does not want to push too hard. Maybe you are working, maybe you are eating, maybe they want you to move over, invite them up, or acknowledge them without the rudeness of barking. So they choose the most restrained option available. That matters because it shows self-control. A dog that uses a paw this way is not just communicating need. They are modulating it. They are testing the emotional temperature of the moment and choosing a softer entry point. Not demand, but invitation. Not insistence, but are you available? And that is why this gesture can feel strangely human. It carries a kind of social intelligence. Your dog is not just expressing desire. They are expressing it in a way designed to preserve harmony between you. Not every paw is for your benefit. Some are for theirs. A dog can feel uncertain, overstimulated, sleepy, watchful, or slightly unsettled without showing obvious distress. In those moments, touching you can function like orientation. It gives them a reference point. It tells their nervous system where safety is, where stability is, where home is, in the middle of everything else moving around them. That is why some dogs place a paw on you while lying down, as if they could sleep more deeply as long as one part of them remains connected to one part of you. It is a subtle form of regulation. They are not clinging. They are organizing themselves around something familiar. And when that familiar thing is you, the meaning becomes bigger than affection. It means your presence has become part of how they settle. Here is where the behavior becomes more revealing. A lifted paw is a small act, but it is still a choice. In order to place it on you, your dog has to interrupt their own balance, even if only slightly. They are giving up a bit of readiness to make contact. That may not sound dramatic, but animals do not reduce their own stability without reason, which means that in its quieter form, this gesture says something stronger than "notice me." It says, "I feel safe enough with you to soften." That is why a relaxed paw feels different from a pawing motion. One is restless, the other is surrendered. One is trying to get somewhere, the other has already arrived. And once you notice that difference, you begin to realize the gesture is not meaningful because it is cute. It is meaningful because it reveals what your dog believes about you in that moment. There are dogs who place a paw on their person at the exact moment that person is about to stand up. Not minutes earlier, not randomly. Right then, when the body shifts and departure begins. That timing is not accidental. Dogs become astonishingly good at reading tiny pre-movement cues, a change in weight, the way your torso leans forward, the way your feet prepare before the rest of you moves. And sometimes, before you leave the couch or the bed or the room, your dog reaches out first, not dramatically, just enough to interrupt the flow. In that case, the paw is not really about touch, it is about delay. It is a quiet attempt to hold the moment open for 1 second longer. Stay here. Not yet. Which is why it can feel so emotionally direct. Your dog is not reacting to where you are. They are reacting to the idea of losing your presence before it happens. The most moving version of this behavior is the one that appears when nothing practical is happening at all. No food, no play, no request, no obvious reason. Just a calm dog placing a paw on you and remaining there as if they are answering something invisible. This is the moment where owners often feel, without fully understanding why, that their dog is trying to comfort them. And maybe that feeling exists for a reason. Because over time, bonded dogs do more than learn routines. They learn relational roles. They begin to understand that comfort moves both ways. You soothe them when they are uncertain. They move toward you when you seem inward or heavy or unlike yourself. Not because they understand your problems in human terms, but because they understand your emotional shape. And in those moments, the paw stops being a habit. It becomes an offering. So when your dog puts their paw on you, the real meaning is rarely just one thing. Sometimes they are asking. Sometimes they are checking in. Sometimes they are steadying themselves. And sometimes, in the quietest and most powerful moments, they are responding to something in you with a kind of tenderness that asks for nothing back except closeness. That is what makes the gesture so easy to miss and so hard to forget once you finally see it clearly. Because your dog is not only learning your schedule or your voice, they are learning your absences, your silences, your patterns, your emotional weather. And that leads naturally to another behavior people laugh off even though it reveals something profound about attachment. In the next video, we're going deeper into that exact bond with if your dog follows you to the bathroom, this is the real reason.